Wars is funny, yes, but sometimes Star Wars is funny when it's not supposed to be funny. And we're going to talk about that today. So welcome everybody to the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Thanks so much for joining us. It's our discussion show. On Monday, you get our takes on the news. We're not reporting the news. You get our takes on the news. You go to Star Wars Newsnet for all the news, obviously. But this is our discussion show where we come up with different topics and have a good time and have a main discussion, and we hear from you. So we like to change things up here on TRB. That's why you get 2 episodes every week. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite apps or YouTube. But how are you? It's good to see all of you out there. Lacey and James, it's good to see you. So the comedy in Star Wars, we'll get into this later, but to me, it's sometimes people forget that how funny Star Wars is, right? So, for you, is the humor in Star Wars just as important as all the other stuff?
Yeah, because it makes the serious emotional moments more important when there's funny moments to kind of level them out. And that's why we have C-3PO and R2-D2, really. It's like they're the ones that add to those funny moments. And for the people at home, I had a cookie before this, if you're wondering. Just keeping the tradition going of letting you know what I had.
I thought you got like annoyed at me for bringing it up, and now you're.
Well, now it's gotten to the point that you brought it up so many times that I feel like I have to keep it going. So a cookie. I had a cookie.
All right. See you next week. James, you like humor, right? Humor in Star Wars, is that an important thing for you in your Star Wars, or are you more of the lore guy? What do you think?
You know, it's weird. Yeah, I like humor in Star Wars, but I do think that the sequel trilogy missed the type of humor. I enjoyed the sequel trilogy humor when in the theater, and I'm, Poe pulls out his gun or his flashlight, and stuff, and I'm laughing.
That's so funny.
I'm laughing at that. I think that's funny, but I think it is definitely a humor for today's audience kind of thing, and it doesn't so match up with the type of humor that was in the original trilogy.
Interesting.
But that being said, I think that regardless of which one you go with, it's probably there. But that's not even what we're talking about. We're talking about unintentional humor right today.
Yeah,
so.
That's where it's going to get interesting, because some people may get a little peeved at some of our picks, but it's all in the eye of the beholder. There's probably some parts that I think are serious that other people think are funny, right? So we're going to give our list, and hopefully we get yours. But that's going to be a KESSEL run that we do later in the show. But first, James, why don't you kick off our warm up the tires segment of the show?
I fear nothing, for all this, as the Force wills it.
All right, we are getting ready to do Will of the Force, but before we get started with that, we are looking to expand and do more podcasts, videos, and streams for all of the Star Wars content that's coming in 2022, but we can't do it without your help. TRB is, in fact, just the 3 of us, so it's difficult to get stuff done. We can't build on what we've done without your support on Patreon. So if you haven't yet, please check out the page at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast and take a look at the tiers, which start at just $2. That's not crazy. That's nothing crazy. $2. We have a lot of exclusive content there, an awesome benefit for our patrons to show our appreciation. So your support secures the future of the podcast and everything we're planning to do in 2022 and beyond that. We're just going to keep going as long as you guys are here to support us. So thank you for all of that support from the 3 of us. It means a lot. Let's get into Will of the Force. So this week we are back with our Cheer It show. And this week we're doing an all Patreon submission version, because that's one of the benefits you get. You can submit topics to this segment. So here we go with Commander Soonerthron wanting to know, will we finally see a canon Bothan in Andor? Lacey, what are your thoughts on the Bothans and how many died to bring information to the Alliance to Restore the Republic?
I think this is a great question, because actually it would be a really easy way to give a kind of a fan moment, fan servicey type moment to those diehard fans, that they'll be able to be like, oh my God, look, without it being over the top crazy. So I'm going to say yes, I think we will. I think it's an easy way to kind of have that little shout out to fans.
All right. And then John, what are your thoughts on Bothans in Andor?
I mean, so the Andor thing is predating the first Death Star. The Bothans helped out with the second Death Star. that doesn't necessarily mean you can't get Bothans in Andor. I'm not sure why he picked Andor specifically. I had this weird thing that Lucasfilm likes to have inside jokes and games and stuff, you know, based on like conversations we've had with some of them and them, you know, publicly talking about it. I think it'd be really funny if one of their things is we're never gonna show what a Bothan is ever.
Oh my gosh.
It's just gonna live in that moment in Return of the Jedi, because everyone keeps asking about it and people like confuse the Death Star and the other Death Star and, oh, what does the Bothan do with it? If they're just like, we're just never going to show it, and that's going to be like this running bit. Like George Lucas was serious about not telling about Yoda's backstory. This is more of like a goof, but I think it'd be funny if they just never addressed it. So for this specific situation, I'm going to say no.
John, I'm going to go with you. I mean, I don't know if that's if it falls back on that same confusion of the first Death Star, second Death Star thing. Typically, when people said, "Oh, you know, we didn't get Bothans in Rogue One," it was because of the confusion between many Bothans died to bring us this information on the Death Star, but it's the second Death Star, so it wouldn't line up. So I think that's probably where this is coming from. The reason that Andor was picked is because we didn't get it in Rogue One, but would we get it in Andor? Is probably where the question's coming from. But we're here to enlighten a little bit on that. But it could be one of those things like maybe Lacey's right. Maybe this is the thing where they're like, we're gonna double down on messing with people, and we're finally gonna give them Bothans in the wrong Death Star related movie. You know.
All right, what if there's a Bothan bartender?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be a spy.
It
right,
could.
right.
I mean,
That's
they
what I'm
showed us
saying. It could just
Bothans
be anything.
in Legend stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is like, they could show us something, and it could be a joke where he's like, you know, if my people ever found out about this thing, it would be a problem or something. You know what I mean? Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's where we're at. Lacey says yes. Me and John are leaning towards no. Patreon submission, Commander Danny is our next Will the Force question. And Commander Danny asked us, if episode 10 is made, will it feature newly created or previously unreleased John Williams music? So Danny's not suggesting that he'll be doing the full score or anything like that, but is there a chance that John Williams might create new, or they'll use unreleased stuff that maybe wasn't developed properly or something along those lines? Lacey, I'm starting with you. John Williams in episode 10 and beyond.
Is this Chibigan, Danny?
No, this is Semper Fi Danny.
Interesting, because the other Danny just saw John Williams in the Hollywood Bowl.
Right.
And I was
You've seen him multiple times now, right?
jealous. Yes. Danny is
That's
living...
a bucket list right there.
Yeah. Danny is living her life.
That would have been
it.
a good answer to our Q&A.
Oh.
What's a
It would have
concert
been-
you'd like to go see?
John Williams.
Williams.
Didn't yours get canceled?
Wow,
Because you were going to go, right?
No, I was supposed to see The Empire Strikes Back played with like the Hartford Orchestra.
but not with John. Yeah.
But didn't it get canceled? Did it get canceled?
It did. Yeah.
Anyway, Semper Fi Danny, great question. If episode is made. Okay, I'm going to say yes, because after talking with John Powell and how they like to include John Williams and how the whole process went, I could see that being a way to still include John without having to do the whole entire score, while also playing, I don't know, nice, being nice to the guy that made Star Wars what it is. And honestly, I loved the track he made for Solo. So I'm going to say yes.
Yes. All right, John, what do you think?
It's tricky because, who knows when episode 10 is going to happen. John Williams is going to be 90 in February. I know he's healthy. He's still doing his thing. He retired from full-time making the Star Wars music.
He's scoring indie.
It wouldn't shock me if...
He's scoring indie, is that right?
I think he is doing indie, yeah. But I think it would not surprise me if he did something for them now with like Rey in mind that is different than her Rey's main theme, because he loved writing that character's music so much that he wanted to like gift them as almost like a let's pass the torch where it's a new saga, but we want to kind of still hold John's hand as we're moving on and not just be like, boom, boom, we're still going to use his old music, but him like a little bit of new John Williams to usher in a new trilogy. I agree with Lacey, would be a wonderful thing, but I think he would have to do that sooner than later. And I hate to be morbid about it, but he's going to be 90. If they make this trilogy in 10 years, he'll be 100. So it's just like, one of those things that you think about, and I'm sure he would love to be, maybe contribute in that way. Like Lacey brought up about the Solo thing was very important to him. So I think it'd be nice if he maybe made something for them that they can use when the time comes. That'd be really cool.
That is a good point about his connection with Daisy Ridley and the Rey theme and stuff. I'm going to say no on this, though. And I think
James,
that although he did the Solo song, I think that's because they weren't going to use like the Star Wars theme, the main theme. So they wanted something that was John Williams that could be your through line throughout that movie as like the main thing here. And I think that if you're doing episode 10 and 11 and 12, regardless of who is actually going to score the movie, they're still going to use the main theme and the Force theme and all that stuff. And all of those things will bring you back to John, whether it's him scoring it or writing it. I mean, the trailers do a really good job at using those, and they're not John Williams. So I think whatever composer is going to use the music that was already handed over, and that's going to be our connection with John Williams. He will live on in all Star Wars. But him actually composing a specific song or using something that was unused from before, I don't think so. I think he has put it down on the Star Wars movies that was it, 1 through 9. So our next question, Patreon submission, is from Major Carol Cantwell. Major, so that's the level at which you
AKA Jon Favreau.
Yeah, so you can start submitting questions at the major level. They wanted to know, who will win in a potential fight between Qi'ra and Fennec Shand if Qi'ra is in fact if Qi'ra is in fact a name in Boba Fett's book. So if Qi'ra is a character that's getting killed off or is going to try to be killed off by Boba Fett and his crew, who would win, Qi'ra or Fennec Shand? John, I'm starting with you on this one. What do you think?
It's tough because now we got jacked Qi'ra. We had jacked fish.
I think that's
jacked Qi'ra.
Why this question is here.
Yeah, I think Qi'ra would win. I'm not sold on Fennec Shand. She got almost killed by that idiot from
Toro.
Chapter 5, Toro Calican.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he pretty much killed her, and he's a total schmo.
She did outwit Cad Bane early in her career, though.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I'm just saying.
But now maybe, she's a little weaker. She's got some artificial parts now that kept her alive. And I know she's a good sniper, but in a fight, you're not sniping. So is she good? Is she still good with combat? Qi'ra, we know, is. Look at what she took out a lot of people. So and she's stronger now. Doesn't even wear sleeves anymore. I'm gonna go with Qi'ra. I think Qi'ra wins that fight, no question.
Yeah, she cut her bangs.
She doesn't even wear sleeves.
No sleeves. Terrace, sleeveless, Cassie.
Yeah. Lacey, you kind of, speaking of clothing, you kind of look like you're in the Crimson Reign right now with your red.
I have my Kylo shirt on.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on...
R.I.P. this design.
R.I.P. that shirt.
Yeah. Who do you think would win in the fight between Fennec Shand and a taco? No, I'm just kidding. Qi'ra.
I would like a taco right now. So John made a really good point, which was my first thought, which is Fennec Shand is a sniper. So it depends. Is this fight like long range, close range? Because I would assume it was close range. If it was long range, I would say Fennec Shand because she's a sniper. Mm-hmm. Like everyone knows that person in video games, whether it be Halo or Call of Duty, where they hang out on the far edge of the map and they camp there and they pick you off one by one.
That's why I don't play video games.
It's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Campers are the worst. Yeah. But if we're talking hand-to-hand combat, then Qi'ra. I would say Qi'ra would beat her any point because the Qi'ra we see in Solo is killing people left and right. She kills Dryden Voss. So
yeah.
Now she's fighting Vader. Like John said, she's got no sleeves. She means business. So I'm going to say Qi'ra.
No sleeves. No sleeves till Brooklyn.
I love that that's the defining factor. It's like, well, she's gone to the point of no returns, no
She's
sleep.
jacked Qi'ra now, baby.
Yeah, I totally missed the delivery on my other joke. I kind of did it half-heartedly, but it was the fight between a grilled cheese sandwich and a taco from Hot Rod. Didn't really work. And I was like, set up Fennec Shand and a taco, like how he says it. But it.
Oh, I thought you were saying that because I'm probably gonna get tacos after this.
Oh
And
yeah, that's
You got tacos after Monday's show too.
I just really love tacos.
I like tacos too.
I like taco too.
Crunch wraps are no joke.
Those are my favorite.
All right. I think that Qi'ra would win for all the reasons you guys are saying.
Yeah, that's right. We're a Qi'ra team.
Yeah,
Team Qi'ra.
I think they're really building her up to be like a tougher fighter. And you also got to think like Fennec Shand is a ruthless bounty hunter. We know that. But she was not trained by Darth Maul. And I think
that's true.
I don't think Fennec Shand has ever gone toe-to-toe with Darth Vader, even if it is the fight that we saw in the comics and it's not really meant to be like a life or death. Qi'ra wasn't really fighting. She was more standing her ground to make a point about the situation, but she bravely went up against him. So, I mean, I think Qi'ra wins the fight against Fennec
I love
Shand.
that we agreed on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Hashtag
good.
makes hello too.
Yep. We agree on that too.
All right, one other one here before we move on to our KESSEL run. We have Commander Jared Hurst that asked this question. We had to answer it on the show. It's, will there ever be a High Republic series or movie in live action or animated? Let's go with animated as well.
James, you answer first.
I answer first. All right, well, I think, number one, we're kind of getting it, right? The Acolyte is taking place in the High Republic. Now, it is at the end of the High Republic, or it's like they're kind of saying it's potentially the end of the High Republic. We're not really sure, but we know that it takes place right around that era. So if you could almost point to saying we're already getting one. That being said, if not that, if you want to say, well, I wasn't counting that.
I think he's talking maybe off the books.
What? Off the books?
I said, I figured maybe I read this like he's talking like taking the books and translating them into.
Will there ever be a High Republic series or movie in live action or animated? I don't think that's. I think he's just saying any live action or animated series that takes place within the High Republic.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, so I think there absolutely will be. I think that as soon as they feel they're accomplished with the books and the publications and stuff, I think that they still have the opportunity to do something with this. And the fact that the Acolyte is kind of roughly bumping against that proves that they're not against the idea of tying in with some of that, because if there is any history, like they're going to be talking in real time, what's going on right now. But if they do mention anything that has happened, what they're going to be referring to is the last, however long of the High Republic. That's the history of the Acolyte as of now. So I think they will. They're already kind of toying with it, and animated is another easy way to do that as well. So then, Lacey, what do you think?
I think that they will. I think they've, really developed the High Republic. There's so many stories there. Fans really seem to dig it. I think it's an easy thing to do, whether it's live action or even animated, to do something in that time period. So I would say yes.
Mm-hmm. And John?
Animated for sure. I think that's going to be their next big thing with animated, is doing High Republic animated stuff to bring these characters more to life. I think High Republic live action would be a massive undertaking, and I feel like with the amount of content they're already doing with books, they're covering a lot of that way. And I think a nice 4-season series run could be something supplemental that can bring other fans in, like myself, I have not been reading the High Republic books. It's just impossible to keep up with that stuff. So
right.
I think animated would be a good way to go, because I think they're not sure what to do. Well, I mean, they're probably planning animated stuff right now, but that'd be a good era to explore if you want to get away from Skywalker related stuff.
Yeah. All right. So that is it. That's all of our answers for Will of the Force this week. Thank you for submitting them, patrons. Thanks for being a patron.
Good questions.
Yeah, and sending those in so that we can answer them on the show. We're glad you got to be a part of the show. And that is it for that segment. But John, we are getting ready to head into a Kessel run. We haven't done that in a while. What are we going to be talking about this week?
You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
All right, James, Lacey, the top 12 unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. Okay, so if you're new to the podcast, this is the Kessel run, where, well, first of all, welcome to the Resistance base. Good to have you. It's available everywhere. That's the beauty of the base. We didn't have to rent one space where we're everywhere. But we put together a list of 12 items on a specific Star Wars topic. And this time we're doing the top 12 unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. Now, Star Wars is loaded with humor from the original trilogy through animated, sequel trilogy, and beyond. And a lot of it's intended, but sometimes there are moments that are supposed to be more serious that we end up laughing at, or you hear a chuckle in the theater or something. You're like, that's not supposed to be funny, but it is. And we're going to give our list of our 12. We each brought 4 to the table, our 12 unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. So, James, you're going to go last this time because I feel like you haven't gone last in a while.
Ooh.
So Lacey, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. Also, I would like to note for the people at home that James has kept his trend the same. 3-4 years later, he still does not put his choices into the document that we use.
I wish we all wouldn't put our choices. I wish we had more choices and they were all surprises.
I just love it. It's always the same thing.
See, because I do the show notes and stuff, I get neurotic about if that happened, we would all have the same picks, and then it would just...
Especially John and I have a lot of overlap.
You just need more picks.
Sometimes.
You just need to pick more things before we get started.
I love how he's so smug right now.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
You know why? You know why it is? I think James with the Kessel Run, he thinks his picks are so good and he can't wait to surprise us with his great picks and stuff.
Oh, don't be mean.
Thanks a lot, John.
He's just excited. I think he likes the element of surprise.
James,
I think that's a big thing for him.
I love you, buddy. I'm just busting
if
your
you're
chops,
doing
okay?
this, I'm going to bring it up. I would like to do this segment as a draft. I've said it behind the scenes. I've never said it on the show. I would prefer if this segment was a draft, and we were picking them, and whoever gets first pick in the draft would pick the best answers, and we're like, you stole mine, and it's all a surprise because we don't know what anybody's picking.
Our last draft was right before Lacey joined the podcast, so I think we should bring back drafts. That was March 2018, I think we did that.
Yeah, it was right before I joined.
Yeah.
The first episode I ever did, I think, was with Black Series Rebels, and the second episode I did was our pitches for episode 9.
Yeah. If anybody wants to go check out that draft, it was very ambitious on our part. We did a lot. It was very cool. Go check it out. I don't think they all have to be that involved, obviously, where we're like doing polls and stuff and everybody's voting and there's a winner and all this. But I just think in general, like, it would be nice if we had our drafts and then we were like, there it is. That's our 12 top, kind of thing. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, let's get into this. We can do drafts in the future. I mean, we can do whatever we want. No one's telling us what
I just love how James
John,
likes to be secretive, and then he's like, okay, so my first pick is... Anyway, okay, so my first pick for the unintentionally funny moment in Star Wars is anything Sio Bibble in the prequels. This guy, I feel for him. He's got a lot of anxiety. He's trying to do what's right for the planet and for the government. And he's like, guys, we need to take this seriously. But everything he says to me is just funny. And I don't know why, because the actor's very good. He's a serious actor. He's wonderful. But it's just like that whole, like, you know what that means? Invasion. You're like, come on, Sio Bibble, shut up. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just every time he talks, I just laugh. You must contact me.
Yeah, is that your favorite line that makes you laugh?
The invasion one, like the very, very first one that he says. He's, you know what that means, and you're like, what does it mean?
It feels like a jump to conclusions. Like, you know what that means? It means birds aren't real and they're government surveillance drones. It's like,
that's so funny.
Why is that the jump to?
He's the ultimate assumer in Star Wars because he assumed Anakin was a master Jedi, which led to that argument between him and Padme.
Oh, that's another unintentionally funny scene that's not on my list, but I would love to have had it on there.
All right, so yeah, that's cool. Anything CO Bibble, that works.
Is it CO or Sio? Am I saying it wrong?
I say CO. A lot of people say Sio. CO sounds better to me, so I say that.
I think it sounds like a more Star Wars name, but Sio Bibble sounds funnier.
Yeah, maybe that's why I say
Sio's
Sio.
what's probably supposed to be, but as many people point out, even the characters themselves, and even George Lucas himself doesn't pronounce the characters one way.
That's fine. I was just curious if I was saying it wrong.
Like we've seen, there's been interviews of George Lucas saying Princess Leia.
Yeah,
true.
Or like Chewbacca.
Or even like in the movies, General Dodonna says Princess Leia in A New Hope, and Leia herself has said Han and Han. So
yeah.
It's Star Wars. Everyone just chill out.
But anyway, yeah, it's just such a scene that like everyone's kind of like, like even Padme, she's like, my planet's about to get ruined, and he's just like, invasion, and it's like, I can't, anything he says is just too funny.
Well, the funniest thing, it can only mean one thing. It's like, really? It's only one thing?
Well, that's what James was saying. He's like, it's like him saying birds aren't real.
Yeah.
You didn't pay your cable bill, maybe? That's why you didn't get the signal?
I've done like a try to understand his perspective, and I've defended why that might, I've come up with my own reasoning as why I think there might be only one explanation, but just on the surface, it's like, okay, dude,
there's at least
chill
three.
out.
I remember, Lacey, you might have been there. I remember our buddies, Black Series Rebels, back when they were cool in like Star Wars. Just kidding, guys. They had an audio drop of him saying like unthinkable on their live show or something.
They did a whole bit with him in their live shows.
Yeah. So it is funny. I agree. Unintentionally. All right, so again, we're moving on. Pick number 2, unintentional funny moments in Star Wars. Which one am I going to go with first here? Return of the Jedi, and this I didn't laugh at, but when I saw the special edition in theaters, a lot of people were laughing at this exchange, and it's when Vader, when Palpatine asks how he knows Luke is on Endor, Vader goes, "I have felt him, my master," and Palpatine responds with, "Strange that I have not." Just if you listen to it in a certain context, it sounds creepy when they do that. So it's Vader saying, "I have felt him, my master," and Palpatine just in his chair just goes, "Strange that I have not." People in the theater are giggling.
It's a weirdly worded statement.
It is, and it's Lawrence Kasdan, and he probably he didn't think anything of it when he wrote it, but when you think of it in a certain context, you're like, oh, okay. We're not like, if you don't think of it as the Force,
right?
And there were definitely giggles in the theater. If you've ever seen Return of the Jedi in the theater with teenagers, young preteens like I was, you're gonna hear laughter during those parts. It's unavoidable. That's not really a CO Bibble line, but you could see him saying that.
It's invasion.
Right. Yeah. So that's my second pick, James.
All right. I just realized 2 of my picks.
Or my first pick, our second pick.
Yeah, our second pick. Yeah. I just realized that 2 of mine are kind of similar, so I'll start with one, and then I'll split it up for my second choice. But my first one, I'm going to start with Anakin saying, "I hate sand."
That was on my list, too.
That
was on my list,
But his
too.
whole thing, like, I think that it's pretty self-explanatory. I think it was meant to be this moment where he's explaining, that was the bad thing, and he doesn't want to associate it with it, and he wants to associate with Padme and how beautiful she is, but the moment is awkward, which I think it's also supposed to be, and I think it gets so awkward that it causes giggles and it causes like tension, causes you to want to laugh. And then I think the other thing is like he's intentionally supposed to be awkward in that moment, but you go to those lines as a reference of like, this is dumb, that was stupid, what bad dialogue, because any normal person probably wouldn't say that. I don't know. Yeah. So it's just like every time the line is delivered,
everywhere.
It's been so memed that you can't watch that scene without like giggling or laughing at everything you've seen around him not liking sand, and of course it's rough and it gets everywhere. It's like just the delivery or something is funny within itself. So I had to go with that one because I don't think that was ever the intent, was to be funny.
I bet that's the most quoted thing Hayden Christensen hears, and he played a very iconic character, and that's probably what he gets quoted the most about.
Are you kidding? The first time he was at Celebration in recent years, someone brought him a jar of sand to sign.
Yeah, that's insanity. I mean, it's funny, but
someone paid like $200 for him to sign a jar of sand.
He's probably like, really?
Do we want to have James now give his next pick and kind of route back this way? Because James said his two were close to each other, or do you want to just keep
you
going?
want to snake this? So you do want to like do it in draft format?
Oh, I don't care. I was just saying because James said it was like a two-parter.
No, I didn't. No, they were similar. So I'll do my second one will be different, and then my third one will be kind of similar.
Got it. Okay, I'll go then.
But yeah, you're good.
So my next one is actually, it's kind of funny that James's was just like this awkward Anakin moment. I think we all have some type of awkward Anakin moment on our list. It just kind of
that maybe
happened.
Is why it's similar. Yes.
All right. So my next one is one that I think wasn't supposed to be funny whatsoever, but I can't get through this scene without laughing. It's just one of those things that I'm like, who thought this was good? And then I'm like, oh wait, George did. And I'm like, George, what were you thinking when you wrote this? And it is the Attack of the Clones pair seduction scene. Where they're at dinner and they're like, first of all, they're only eating pears, which to me is just like nothing else. You're just pears.
Yeah.
That's it.
Why don't you sit down and have a pear with me?
Yeah, like it's very, and the way they're eating it, they're like cutting it up. It's just very awkward.
They didn't even have a pair of pears. They split a pear.
So then she cuts it, and he uses the fork, or he uses the force or whatever, and she cuts it and then feeds it, sticks it on her fork. It's just so silly.
Her fake bite.
Yeah, it's just so silly to me because I'm like, this adds nothing to the story for me. Like, if this scene wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't make or break it for me. Like, it would just be like, okay, they hung out. Like
he kind of has a look on his face like he kind of wants to murder her. It's like cutting the pear in the thing, and he's going like this.
It's like, just one of those things that, like, if it was me
looking at
and
her like
I was Padme, I'd just be like, why are you taking my food? Like, I'd get annoyed. I wouldn't be impressed. I'd be like, can you not do this? So I just always laugh. It's just awkward. So that's my second unintentionally funny scene.
It's really funny because when they filmed that, Natalie Portman had to bite air, and then they CGI'd the pear into it. And it looks like a fake, like no one bites like that. She leans forward like,
it comes at her and she stabs it with a fork and then bites
she
the
stabs
fork.
it
yeah,
with
but
a fork.
she leans forward. She leans forward though still.
Oh, yeah.
And then
It's
as he's
just
cutting
weird.
it, he's like, if Master Obi-Wan saw this, he'd be very grumpy. It's like, grumpy? Dude? Yeah, there's a bunch of those scenes we could pick out. I think, I don't think either of us picked the fireplace scene too, but jeez.
Fireplace scene makes me cringe.
Imagine going on a date with a magician and then you're like, the knife cuts the steak and the steak like
I finally
floats
get my
up.
steak to the table and he's just like, makes it disappear. I'm like, I just want my steak.
I don't think anybody is like, wow, like you're a really good magician.
Wow.
How are you doing this?
Sticking
I'm
the
so
pear down his
impressed.
sleeve. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh man.
oh my God, that sounds like a disaster date, which it is. That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Nothing bad came from that date ever.
Yeah.
Right.
And Lucas was like, that's not bad writing. That's just how awkward teens are.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, buddy.
Is it though?
I'm just picturing
Monk
like all those
teens, like
scenes. I was
celibate
talking to
monk
Lacey
teens.
about this before. I'm like, just for a second, this happened. Picture George Lucas sitting at his desk with a pad and pencil writing this stuff and being like, that's it. Nailed it. Yeah. All right. My next pick, we're at the 5th pick in the top 12 unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. This might be a little controversial for some people, but if you think about it, when like act as though you're not used to this happening, seeing it for the first time, it's funny and it shouldn't be. And it's Luke's screaming of no when Vader tells him he's his father. It's really long, and he does it twice because he runs out of breath. So he goes, no, no, and his teeth are like Like his front teeth are just sticking out. He's underbiting. It's pretty funny for a very serious scene in Star Wars.
Poor Mark Hamill. He's like, I am so serious right now.
Like his mouth motions, it was probably done in post. The audio.
It did seem like
right?
they added the audio after the fact. It does seem like that.
And just the whole thing, like even add in that's impossible. Like it's pretty funny.
There's the it feels part of that way too because it's so windy in that, and they're trying to keep the dialogue audible, but they also are trying to show you that it's really windy. So if you're trying to convince me that it's really windy, then the best way to do that is to make it so I can't hear the audio. But they're like, but we can't,
right.
Or the dialogue, but we can't do that. So we're going to have to put the dialogue in a way that they can hear it. And so it doesn't totally feel
So
right.
he probably did
natural.
that in ADR and they punched it in later.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just the fact that
I think
he had
they
to
did
match
because the Vader
to
guy
his
didn't
own-
know he was the
The
father,
Vader
right?
guy.
What's his name? I'm blanking right now.
Prowse.
Yeah.
He didn't know, right? Because they did the whole scene and he didn't
Yeah.
know it.
Prowse said Obi-Wan killed your father.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which Luke's reaction should still be the same though. So I think he still did the scene.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
But just picturing Mark Hamill, and I wish it'd be awesome to talk to him about this or hear him talk about
Mark,
it.
please.
Picturing him in a studio, in an audio recording booth, having to match up his voice to his own face, doing that
Right.
no face.
Right.
And just I just it's for such a serious, like, iconic scene in Star Wars, it's very Looney Toony, and I think it's very funny, and I don't necessarily always laugh at it, but it is out of place a little bit and funny to me.
Side
Maybe not to
note,
everybody.
that would be a really cool what if they did a what if Star Wars. And he gets up there and he says, Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah.
And
right.
then they kind of split the story from there or something. Be
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. All right, James, you are up.
All right.
We're halfway there with this pick.
All right. So mine, and I don't know that everybody agrees with this, but this is how I felt when I watched the movie. And I, in a weird way, kind of wish it wasn't there. It's when Babu Frick, or as my phone likes to correct it to, Babu Eric, which I thought was funny. But Babu Frick pops up in the Y-Wing in like Zori's lap or whatever.
You think that's unintentionally funny? I think they did that on purpose to be funny.
No, I think that's supposed to be yes, they're alive. This is so great. And he's like, boo, hello. And I'm
I
like,
totally took that as being funny. So I guess we're
I
on the
thought it
same
was funny,
page.
too.
really? That's not supposed to be a happy, like they're alive?
I think her is supposed to be happy, and then him popping up is like the comic relief.
Wow. Well, I don't. I think it's funny in a.
We'll let the audience.
I mean,
decide.
okay. Here's the thing: is if it's supposed to be like funny, like oh yeah, hey or whatever. I don't think it's that kind of funny. I think it's like bad and intentionally. Like I'm laughing at
okay.
it because it's like that doesn't feel Star Warsy. It feels dumb, like a kid would laugh at this kind of thing. So
Okay. I understand what you're saying now. I didn't take
So
it
maybe
that way,
if
but
it
I
is
understand
supposed
what
to
you're
be
saying.
funny, it's the wrong kind of funny. Like you're making a joke and you're like, this is embarrassing, like kind of thing. Like I thought they should have told you that he survived or showed him a different way. Like
Without
he should
him
have been
popping
back
up.
maybe on the ground when they came back and they did the Chewie giving a medal and Babu Frick is there. It would have been kind of cool to be like, oh, and he made it out too. Zori still could have been up in the air. But him
It
being
felt very
like
Porg in the Last Jedi, where it hits the window.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, kind of similar to that. But like with the Porg, I felt a little bit more like it's supposed to be a Porg.
Sure.
But I did not. I don't know. I don't like the scene, and it always makes me cringe when I see it.
I
and I
remember you
laugh
saying you didn't like the scene, but
What?
yeah. I remember you saying a while back you didn't like that scene.
Yeah, I thought it was a little too.
Hooray!
I don't know. Yeah, Just said that they didn't do it right.
That's
but
so funny.
It is on the list. We will let the audience decide. Okay, number 7, Lacey. We are on the second half now of the top 12 unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. What do you got?
So this one's coming from my childhood. This is something I remember laughing at from the moment I saw Return of the Jedi to I still laugh at it because I think it's such ingrained in my head as being a thing that I thought was so funny when I was little. And it's not funny at all. It's actually pretty terrible. It's in Return of the Jedi when they're at Jabba's palace and R2-D2 and C-3PO get taken to like the droid torture room. And there's that gonk droid that's upside down and he's kicking his feet and he's going, no, no, no. And they're like burning his feet. But the thing's not touching his feet. It's like kind of funny. It's like doing steam, but it's not really touching because it's a puppet. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I just thought it was so funny. I don't know why. I think it's like the combination of the voice and it's just a droid.
I think it's funny too.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get older, you realize like, oh, they're like legit torturing this creature and that's so terrible. But when I was little,
yeah.
But still, yeah, droid.
Yeah.
But you feel terrible. And then like the guy that gets pulled up from like the junk pile and you're like, that whole scene to me was just so comical. And and all I could see now is like these poor droids are in pain and they're being killed and destroyed and tortured and I'm a terrible person. That's not.
I think what saves us as people who find it funny is because of his voice. Like no. Where if it was more of a like the shoe in Roger Rabbit.
Oh God, no!
You know?
Yes,
yeah.
no.
So,
that is terrible. Oh my, that made me cry when I was little.
Right. Like if they were disintegrating this gonk droid slowly, he'd be like, "Oh God!" But
and I
he's
think
like
also,
burning his feet.
He looked very much like a McDonald's trash can to me.
He did.
He still does, but like when I was little, I remember him looking like a trash can. So I just was like, "Oh, the trash can's getting." Burned.
Yeah.
McDonald's has made huge strides to change their trash cans. So
they also make their restaurants look like dentist offices now compared to like when I was a kid.
They don't have the play places.
Like the outside looks like it's an office building now.
The one by me looks like super retro.
Oh, it looks like a 50s one. Yeah, that is a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even still have like outside tables and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway. This isn't a fast food Kessel Run. This is the unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. My next pick is pretty specific because you have to remember what it sounds like. But Yoda's sounds when he's fighting Dooku in Attack of the Clones.
I couldn't place this when I read this.
So
you have to do it.
So yeah, I was gonna try to find the clip and play through my mic, but So you know how Frank Oz does the voice of like other characters in Muppets and whatever? He does Grover, he does Miss Piggy, he does Fozzie. He sounds like all of those characters and not Yoda. So it's like and as he's flipping around and doing it, we're seeing the crazy lightsabers, him doing 520s and 360s, but if you listen to his sounds that he's making and picture Frank Oz in a booth doing that, going, it's not supposed to be funny because it's Master Jedi fighting his old Padawan, just like you're supposed to be seeing Luke fighting Vader. And if you just listen to his sounds, I can't help but laugh.
It's pretty ridiculous.
You are right, John. And actually, it's funny. You saying this one and you putting this one into our show just reminded me of a different scene with Yoda. And I'm going to switch my next answer. I'll tell you what it was.
Oh,
but I'm going to switch it to something Yoda related because you said that.
Interesting.
I want to go back and rewatch.
Go back and rewatch that scene and listen to, like, turn up your volume and listen to Yoda's sounds and picture Frank Oz in a booth doing those, mashing those up. It doesn't sound like Yoda. It sounds like Grover, like Super Grover.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Piggy,
or Miss Piggy, or like Fozzie. Like it sounds like Super Grover is a good one. It does kind of sound like Super Grover. But either way, I still love you, Frank Oz.
All
right, James.
Okay, so what I was going to say, the one that was similar to the one I did earlier, was picking on Anakin and the dialogue and the delivery and all that stuff. I was going to say the whole scene with so you're saying love is blind and of course, because I'm only so in love with you. And it's just like, again, it's that pressure and the awkwardness that I just feel like you can't help but laugh at what is being said because you're like, who wrote this? Like, why are they talking like this? Nobody talks like that, you know? Mm-hmm. But if you want to say that's more awkward than like funny, I'm gonna switch it because John made me think of a new one, and that is Yoda in Attack of the Clones saying, "Around the survivors, a perimeter create."
Oh, jeez.
What a horrible line.
And
it is a horrible line.
They should have figured something else out for that because you can't hear it without laughing and being like, I know it's Yoda, but who says that, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel Yoda even. You're saying it backwards, but it just seems like such a stupid way to say a statement that it would almost be the one time we give him a pass to just be like, look, just let Yoda say, put a perimeter around the survivors. It's just, that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be like this. Quit forcing things. And it's such a dumb statement that I think it just makes people laugh every time they hear it because it just is so, it just pushes the limit too far.
Not every line Yoda says is that full backwards thing, you know? So, yeah, I think it was almost like when someone's too close to something, they forget how to do it organically or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that is notoriously just a heinous line.
Yeah.
And it is funny because it's not supposed to be.
Yep.
It's a very big moment in the movie. Yeah. Good pick. Nice audible. So we are at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have three picks left.
3 left.
Lacey, your last pick. What do you got?
So my last pick is something that is from the sequel trilogy, and I don't think I've ever laughed harder at a more not funny moment. And I remember specifically in the movie theater laughing and hearing myself laughing really hard, and no one around me was laughing. Like, that's what I remember from this moment. And it was from The Last Jedi, and it's when Kylo says, "Blow that piece of junk out of the sky."
Nice.
And he's talking about the Millennium Falcon because, I don't know, I just found it super funny. I was like, he's freaking out. He sees the Millennium Falcon. He just loses it. And the fact that it's Chewbacca and Rey just like taking people out, it just, it really made me laugh about how vicious he gets.
He cracks throughout the movie all the time, but that's a moment of him cracking and he just lashing
Unhinged.
out at the ship.
Yeah. And it's like clearly his problem with Han Solo, but the fact that he's yelling at this ship and you're just like, yeah, he's never going to do that because the Millennium Falcon's awesome and they're never going to blow it up. So you're just being an idiot.
Yeah, I don't think Rian Johnson wrote that line to be funny, but it definitely comes across that way.
No, it's just so fun. And it's so quick too. It happens so fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
and even the lines that come after it where Finn's like, oh, they hate that ship. I didn't find that funny, but I found Kylo saying this funny.
Yeah, like there are a couple of Kylo Ren lines that, like Lacey, you and I talked before, like when Luke's like, "I'm sorry, Ben," and he's like, "I'm sure you are." I laughed at that, and I'm not supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that little like snotty teenager. "I'm sure you are."
Yeah, whatever.
You can't use the car this weekend, but I'm sorry. "Oh, I'm sure you are, Dad."
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you are, but what am I?
Yeah. That would,
no, good.
He had
good
said
pick.
that.
All right, for mine, I'm gonna try to do a little audio for my last pick. This is in my opinion, the most unintentionally funny moment in Star Wars. Hopefully, an ad doesn't play over it.
You underestimate my power.
See, the funny thing is I read this and my initial response is, "You will try," is like the one that I find so ridiculous.
I think I'll play it one more time because I think it's how he says power is so derpy. And it's like, George, that's the take. You were like, that's the one. This is supposed to be one of the biggest lines in the whole thing. It's the culmination of all of this. And this is where you said, put it in the can.
You underestimate my power.
Come on, man. That is so bad. That is so bad. Maybe that's part of the reason why I hate that duel. because it ends with that.
Maybe.
My power. Sounds like a South Park character. Freaking horrible.
My power.
You underestimate
I'm
my
telling you what I
power.
think of when you brought that up. The first thing I think of is "You will try."
I mean, there's a few. And I'm not trying to pick on Hayden. People are gonna get mad that we're picking on Hayden Christensen. It's not. It's so much.
No,
it's the writing.
the line.
It's George's choosing of which takes to use. It's a whole thing, and it's Hayden's awesome.
Because "You will try" to me sounds like, I'm sure you are. Like that's what "you will try."
I mean, we
sounds
just
like
said this about Adam Driver, like in a bunch of his lines that were delivered in such a way that were unintentionally funny.
And Star Wars always, because a little hokey with their dialogue. They even made fun of it themselves, like Harrison Ford saying, like, "I can't just do this. No one can. Who writes this?" And Hayden Christensen, there's a lot of movies I've seen of his that I love a lot.
He's
Life
great.
is a House, Shattered Glass,
Little
and I'm excited
Italy.
he's coming back. So don't think this is some kind of roast of Hayden Christensen. It just happens to be that's my top pick. So I apologize to Revenge of the Sith stans. I know you're all out there. Don't come at me, please. We're just here for a good time. James, the final pick in the Kessel Run of the 12 most unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars.
So I took the term in Star Wars to be a little bit broad because this actually it is in the movie, but it's not like when you watch the movie you're not engaged with it or it shows up.
Yeah.
But I think that in Star Wars, when I think about things that were created and they were totally meant to be this other thing, and just because life goes on and society does things and people get named certain things or whatever, it was just like, oh, that was a mistake. We could have never seen that coming. But that's a big one. Kind of like if you name your kid something and then there's like years later, there's like a serial murder by the same name. It's like, who would have known,
Yeah. Seinfeld did that bit.
Yeah. The genre of music that is played in A New Hope is jizz. In Star Wars, that is the name of the genre. And the character, the band is known as Jizz Whalers.
Wait, which band?
I can't remember. It's another character, it's Legends character. I can't think of it, but there's the modal nodes and all them, but they play jizz. And then there's another character who it's so and so and the Jizz Whalers. And
Now I know why James doesn't put his stuff in the deck.
No, I know. I'm surprised of the three of us, James came up with this.
Well, it's because it has to be there. It's like this is the thing that I think is one
Is
of the
this canon?
more. Yes, yeah. I made sure that it was in fact referenced in canon before, not just a Legends thing.
There is a GIF going around of someone interviewing Alden Ehrenreich and asking him if he's ever heard of jizz music, and he laughs.
Yes,
He does.
I
yeah.
tried to listen to that interview today, and I couldn't get it to play. But
I don't even know what to say to this. Yes, sure. Unintentionally funny.
That is unintentionally funny for obvious reasons.
Ivar Orbis and his Galactic Jizz Whalers is the band. And that is legend, the Jizz Whalers, but jizz being the name of the genre is in fact canon. And
All right.
it's just something I think when it was created, whoever, came up with it was like, oh, it's Star Warsy, so it's not jazz. That's obviously not
Right.
jazz. We'll just kind of
Right.
space it up and make it a little interesting. We'll call
He
it.
could have said Jaws. He could have said Juzz.
Could have
he
said,
could have said Jazz.
anything else.
Nope.
And it's totally innocent,
Pat,
unintentional.
I would like to buy an eye.
For a completely unrelated reason, it becomes another term
Well,
used in
James,
society.
yeah.
There's no topping that. That is the
yeah.
last.
Thanks for releasing that upon us, James. We appreciate that. And that is the Kessel Run. Let me run down the 12 picks of the 12, for TRB anyway, the 12 most unintentionally funny moments in Star Wars. Anything by C.O. Bibble. Return of the Jedi, I have felt in my master, strange that I have not. I don't like sand. The pair seduction scene from Attack of the Clones between Anakin and Padme. Luke's screaming of no reaction to Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. Babu Frick popping up in the cockpit in The Rise of Skywalker. Return of the Jedi, the droid torture of the Gonk droid. Yoda
Droid
sounds
torture.
when fighting Dooku in Attack of the Clones. Again, Yoda Attack of the Clones around the survivors a perimeter create. Kylo screaming, blow that piece of junk out of the sky. Anakin, you underestimate my power. And jizz music. Okay. Let us know what your picks are. Let us know what you think of our picks. Quote tweet the episode with what your pick would be if it's not on here, or if you like one of ours in particular. But thanks for joining us on this Kessel Run. We will see the Kessel Run later on this year. We're not done yet. We have another segment, and we're going to hand it off to Lacey Gilleran to run through it.
All right, guys, it's time for Resistance Transmissions. So this is the part of the show where we hear from you. John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter, and you guys give your answers. So the scenario this week is if you could write a letter to one Star Wars character to warn them of their impending death before it happens, who would you write, and what would you say to help them avoid their demise?
So I threw up a GIF of Doc Brown revealing his bulletproof vest because Marty wrote him a letter.
Wrote him a
in
letter.
the future. Yeah, so that's what this is inspired by.
So first is Alex Zukis at Zubaka. Hey, Alex, who said, "Dear OPC killer, there's always a bigger fish."
And we know who that
Alex
fish
is the biggest jacked fish fan
Yeah.
I have ever.
He is. Yeah.
It's like made it his thing.
I love it.
We gotta get some jacked fish swag.
Yeah. Next is Adam Odell at Odell Adam, who wrote, "Dear Captain Nita, if you ever make a mistake while serving Lord Vader, do not apologize. Not in person, not remotely, not in any way. Just don't do it. Send a lieutenant or something. Just avoid Vader until enough time has passed. You'll thank me later. I promise."
Well done.
Like that.
Next is Mark at Kind of Vakins, which is _kind_Wakens. Mark said, "Dear Dryden Voss, don't train Qi'ra in the art of Terraskasi. You'll regret it. We can find another way to reference that 1997 PlayStation game."
Oh my god, Mark, that's so good.
Next is Kylo 10 at Fulcrum Andor. What's up? They said, "Dear Ben Solo, I can't figure out a way for you not to die, but please just don't die."
Oh.
Thanks, Ashley. Ashley, this hurt me. This one hurt as I'm wearing this t-shirt.
Wait, you realize, how long Ashley's been with us. And
Love Ashley. She's the best.
Yeah, she was at our panel. She put James on the spot. She's been listening to us for years, and she's gone through all of this with us. So,
And she knows how hard this hurt me.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.
Next is Kyle at Kyle D. Larson. Hey, Kyle. Kyle wrote, "Dear Dr. Cornelius Evazan, just let the kid at the bar drink his blue milk. Trust me."
Nice, Kyle.
Nice
I
to
like
be
it,
done,
man.
Kyle. And then there's Cal B at Luke Screensaver. What up, Kyle? Kyle said,
Okay.
"Beckett, my guy, that mouthy Scooch Han is going to put a hole in your chest. You should have been paying attention, because now the kid is going to teach you the most important lesson of all. Forget the coaxium. Take another shot of brandy and just go learn to play the damn vowel chord."
Amen, Kyle. Well done.
Wow.
And next is CJ Julian at CJ Nightwing. Love Nightwing. Great character. "Dear Darth Maul, before you go to gloat, pick up Qui-Gon's lightsaber. Thank me later."
That's so good.
You know what I noticed about all these?
good.
Everybody's saving the bad guy. Dear Captain Nita, stay alive. Dear Ben Solo, stay alive. Dear Dryden Voss, stay alive. Dear Evazan and
Darth
Beckett
Maul.
and Darth Maul. Beckett's not a
That's
bad
true.
guy, but he's the guy he was gonna kill Han. So
Yeah.
And last but not least is Pedro at Pedro Gringas, who said, "Dear Jedi Master Uma Gundi, change your name ASAP."
do you get it, Lacey?
No.
Say his name again.
Sound out the name again.
I don't get it.
It's not Ima, it's Ima. And then I like watching her piece it together.
I still don't get
And
it.
then the next word is it's an actual thing. Gun. Say it.
So his name is
Gun.
I'm a Gun Die.
Yeah. That.
They purposely
Oh!
They purposely named him that because he like dies immediately.
Yeah,
That's
he's
so
in 2
funny.
episodes, and you're introduced to him, and then in the second episode he dies, and it's like, I think it was kind of clear that he was going to die. I think they
Well
pronounce
done,
it differently, but his
Pedro.
name is I'm a Gonna Die.
Yeah. So like change his name to I'm a Gun Live.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you for your answers. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN to give your answers, and you could be on the show. Back to John.
Thanks everybody for listening and watching. Make sure you do subscribe to the show, follow our YouTube channel, or subscribe to it, youtube.com/Star Wars News App Videos. And of course, on your favorite podcast app, whatever that may be, free. You know, twice a week, new shows, a lot of other content. And when we do, Mando fan shows and all that stuff, that's always on the channels and the feeds as well. And StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Like James said at the top, Patreon, very important. We really want to do a lot next year and be able to cover everything. And for us to spend more of our time doing this and ramp up what we're doing, improve what we're doing, we need your help, and Patreon's the way. And I want to say a special thank you to our Patreon generals. They are Carmelo, Andrew, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jenna Rosewater, Paul Olson, Jay Couchins, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Haz Islam, Joe Ritchie, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, and Val Trichkoff. And our Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Double C Chris, Kendall Gelnar, Ryan Wara, David Hornack, Micah Harrison, and Thomas Hennessy.
Yes.
Thank you all for all of your support and all of our patrons. It means a great deal. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, StarWarsNewsNet.com, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies, audio platforms only. Lacey?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran, and I just did all the reviews for the Visions episodes, which
Wow.
came out yesterday. Guys, loved it. Can't wait for you guys to tell me what you
Yeah.
think. So head over to YouTube and or social media or at Star Wars Newsnet. I did written reviews as well, and let me know what you thought.
Yeah, that's why we didn't cover it on this episode. Lacey ran the whole gamut, written and video, so go check those out. And
We'll probably talk Monday.
Yeah, as we digest it a little more, I got to watch it at least 2 more times, and we'll talk about it probably Monday or
Make
next
sure to watch
Thursday.
in English and Japanese subtitles.
Yeah, for sure. All right, James.
Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks is where you can find me.
All right. Are you going to bite through half of a Kit Kat
I
tonight?
got nothing. No.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody once again, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend. As we're approaching October, we're in fall now. It's officially fall. How
It
about
is
that?
starting yesterday.
Star Wars season has begun. The Mandalorian is currently filming, according to reports. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan, and it's a good time to be with you all. So enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you Monday morning right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.